People thought the story was over. They believed the drama had ended the moment Lena Navarro walked away from the shadow of an arranged marriage and chose her own future beside Adrian Cross. In Silverwood Heights, the whispers slowly faded. The mansion returned to its quiet routine. And for a brief moment, it looked like peace had finally won. But powerful men rarely accept humiliation quietly, especially men who believe something valuable has been taken from them. And the man Lena's father once promised her to, Magnus Redding, was not the kind of man who forgave betrayal. What no one in Silverwood Heights realized was that while Lena and Adrian were beginning a new chapter of their lives, Magnus was already planning how to destroy it. The calm before the storm. Weeks passed after Adrian freed Lena from the marriage contract. Life inside the Cross estate had changed in ways the staff could hardly believe. The cold, unreachable billionaire they once feared had softened. He laughed more. He spoke to the staff occasionally. Even Mrs. Dalton noticed the difference. And everyone knew the reason. Lena Navarro. But Lena herself remained cautious. She had escaped her father's arrangement, yes. But she knew powerful men did not forget public humiliation easily. One evening, while standing on the rooftop overlooking the glowing skyline, Lena turned to Adrian. Do you ever feel like peace is sometimes just quiet before something worse happens? Adrian looked at her thoughtfully. Whoever threatens you will have to go through me first. Lena smiled softly, but deep inside, something unsettled her. Because somewhere in another part of the city, Magnus Redding was preparing his move. A man obsessed with revenge. Magnus had built his empire through intimidation. He wasn't just rich. He was feared. When news spread that the marriage agreement had been destroyed and that Adrian Cross had personally paid millions to break the contract, Magnus felt something he had never experienced before. Public humiliation. And humiliation, to men like Magnus, was worse than financial loss. So he began quietly assembling people who owed him favors. Private investigators. Corrupt businessmen. Men who didn't ask questions. His objective wasn't just revenge. He wanted something much more satisfying. To destroy Adrian Cross completely. And remind Lena Navarro that some decisions carry consequences. The first warning. The first sign of danger appeared late one night. Adrian was reviewing business reports when the mansion's security system suddenly triggered an alert. Someone had attempted to breach the outer gates. By the time guards checked the cameras, the vehicle had already disappeared. It seemed like a random attempt, but Lena wasn't convinced. 2 nights later, another strange incident occurred. A threatening message appeared on Adrian's private business email. Just 6 chilling words. You stole what belonged to me. Adrian stared at the screen. There was only one man arrogant enough to send a message like that. Magnus Redding. The psychological war. Magnus wasn't interested in simple confrontation. He wanted Adrian to feel pressure, fear, uncertainty. Within weeks, Adrian's businesses began facing strange obstacles. Banking negotiations collapsed. A major shipping deal mysteriously fell apart. Rumors about Adrian's company suddenly appeared in financial media. It was a calculated attack. Magnus was trying to weaken Adrian financially before striking harder. But Adrian Cross was not an easy opponent. He began quietly investigating. And what he discovered confirmed his suspicions. Magnus had returned. And he wasn't planning to stop until Adrian's entire empire collapsed. The night everything changed. The real danger arrived sooner than anyone expected. One stormy evening, Lena was returning to the mansion after visiting a charity foundation in the city. Her driver had barely turned into the estate road when a black SUV suddenly blocked the path. Another vehicle appeared behind them. The driver realized immediately. They were trapped. Before anyone could react, armed men stepped out of the vehicles. Lena's heart pounded. And then she saw him, Magnus Redding, standing in the rain with a cold smile. Did you really think you could humiliate me and walk away? He said calmly. Lena's voice trembled but remained firm. This ends tonight, Magnus. Leave before you make things worse. Magnus laughed. Oh, Lena, things are only getting started. Adrian's race against time. Back at the mansion, Adrian received a call from Lena's driver. The moment he heard the words, "They've blocked the road," he understood exactly who was responsible. Adrian immediately contacted the authorities. But he also did something else. He activated the estate's emergency security response team. Within minutes, vehicles were speeding toward Lena's location. But Magnus had already made his move. The confrontation. Magnus approached Lena's car slowly. "You were supposed to be my wife," he said. "You were supposed to strengthen my empire. You don't get to walk away from a deal like that." Lena stepped out of the car. Rain soaked her hair as she faced him. "I was never a business deal." Magnus' smile vanished. "And Adrian Cross? He stole what was mine." Before the situation could escalate further, sirens echoed in the distance. Police vehicles appeared from both sides of the road. Adrian's security team arrived moments later. Magnus realized too late that his plan had collapsed. Within minutes, the armed men were surrounded. Magnus Redding was placed in handcuffs as rain poured down around them. For the first time in his life, he looked powerless. Justice served. The investigation that followed exposed everything: illegal intimidation, corporate sabotage, kidnapping attempts. Magnus Redding's empire quickly crumbled as evidence piled up. The court case lasted months, but the outcome was inevitable. Magnus Redding was sentenced to a lengthy prison term. A man who once controlled powerful industries would now spend years behind steel bars. And the fear he once used to control others had finally caught up with him. A new beginning. Months later, peace finally returned to the Cross estate. One evening, Lena and Adrian stood again on the rooftop where their story had begun. The city lights stretched endlessly beneath them. Lena looked up at the sky quietly. "I think God was watching over us the entire time," she said softly. Adrian nodded, and the police arrived exactly when they needed to. For a moment they both stood in silence, grateful for the second chance life had given them. A message for parents. Before this story ends, there is something important worth saying. Too often, children are treated as tools for family ambition. Parents sometimes trade their sons and daughters for wealth, influence, or powerful connections. But children are not business deals. They are not bargaining chips. They deserve the freedom to choose their own lives, their own futures, and their own happiness. No amount of money or influence is worth sacrificing the dignity and freedom of a child. Final words. Lena Navarro escaped a life she never chose. Adrian Cross found a love he never expected. And Magnus Redding learned that power, without respect, eventually destroys itself. Sometimes the most beautiful things truly do arrive in unexpected ways, even if they walk through the front gate holding nothing more than a mop. And if you enjoyed this story, thank you for spending your time here. Your support means everything. Stay safe, stay kind to one another. And remember, the best stories are often the ones that remind us what truly matters.